This video will guide you through the initial charging and operation of your solder pot. The initial filling of your solder pot, which we call charging, should be done with ingots or pellets of the solder alloy you have chosen. If you prefer bars or sticks, we recommend that you cut them into smaller pieces, approximately 1 inch long as shown here. These smaller pieces will melt faster while charging the pot and will have less lowering effect on the operating temperature of the pot as solder is replenished during use. Turning the control knob to the maximum setting, the solder will generally take 15 to 20 minutes to melt, so we will time-lapse the video showing actual time references in the upper right corner as we discuss various information relating to our solder pots. The pot should never be charged using flux cord solder wire or other alloys containing any type of flux, and you should never introduce flux directly into the solder pot, unless it is an approved cover flux which is intended for use with solder pot applications. Quality solder alloys with a high level of purity should be used in the pot for best results. As more solder is added to the bath, use care to avoid splashing the already molten solder. The crucibles of the American Beauty solder pots are made of gray cast iron because of its natural resistance to the solubility of tin. This becomes more important now as many lead-free solders are manufactured with a much higher tin content. Larger pieces of solder can be added and will melt more quickly as the molten solder level rises in the pot. When adding larger or full solder bars, you will need pliers as the bars will transfer heat and get hot very quickly. It is always important for the required personal protective equipment to be used when charging, operating, or purging your solder pot. It is also important to understand and operate in complete compliance with all federal, state, and local regulations. With the solder pot charged, we will introduce the draw skimmer assembly, which is used to remove dross contamination and burnt oxides from the surface of the solder bath. The draw skimmer assembly can be left in the pot and used as shown, or can be removed and used as a spoon or ladle to remove the dross contaminants from the surface of the solder. As we began the charging process, you will recall that we turned the control knob to the maximum setting. With the charge fully melted, we can now set the control knob to the desired operating temperature using the dial markings as a point of reference. It is recommended that your solder pot be set to operate at 100 to 150 degrees above the liquid temperature of the solder alloy being used. To determine the actual temperature of the solder in the pot, you will need an independent temperature sensing device like the digital meter shown. The thermocouple sensor should be placed near the crucible wall, approximately 1/2 inch below the surface of the solder. The run light will turn off and on once the pot begins to idle around the set temperature. The operating temperature could then be adjusted by turning the knob clockwise to raise it and counterclockwise to lower it. All surfaces and components, including the draw skimmer assembly and the knob, should be considered extremely hot during use. Periodically review the operating temperature and effectiveness of the solder pot set point and make appropriate changes according to those findings. We hope the information we have provided is helpful in the charging and operation of your American Beauty solder pot.